Hi, I'm Josh Stiles, Solutions Architect at 21CS, and in this video I'll be giving a demonstration of our software product, IBM Z JCL Expert. And we're first going to show ISPF, one of the main UIs that customers would use to code and debug JCL, and we'll show some of the different ways that you can use JCL Expert through ISPF, and we'll also show some of the more modern approaches like IDZ or Zoe, and how you can utilize JCL Expert in those different UIs or functions. So for the first one, I'm going to use my control library on ISPF. In this control library, I have a bunch of different examples and we'll only dive into a few of these. But the first one I'm going to start with is bad, with 3 Ds. And here we just have some normal JCL. You can see that we have a comment here that's going to we have restricted DD names in here coded. So we should see an error message for every one of our restricted JCLs. So to invoke the JCL Expert macro, I'm going to just type JCLX. This might vary depending on how you set it up in your environment, but for CoE1 we just have JCLX to call JCL Expert. And you can see here that I'm pulling from the right version. It processed 16 different statements. We have 1 informational and 7 error messages. My first error message is the label for job is too long. I can see I have 9 characters versus 8. I can also see that unrecognized keyword parameter for message level. I can see that this should have been capitalized, and that's something that I would need to fix. Getting down below, I can see that my IEF BR14 was resolved. I found it in the LPA library. But then also below I can see some of my error messages where JES, JCL, or JCLin, message level, they're all JES reserved names, so I cannot have this coded within my job. So that's something I would need to address before submitting this, or I would expect to have an error message in my when I do submit it. I can do a res here to get rid of the messaging, and then we have our plain JCL. Next one we're going to look at is called copy1, or copy. Do a res, and I'm going to do my macro again, JCLX. And you can see here we just have 1 informational message, 0 warning, and 0 error. We can just see that IEB copy was resolved. They found the module in the link lib, and this is just to showcase the different programs or modules that we do support within JCL Expert. I'm going to go to copy1 now and run JCL Expert again. And here I can see that I have 1 informational and 2 error messages. So the informational is that it found IEB copy, like the last member that I showed. But now it's showing that it could not find the data sets that I had specified. They're saying that ABC230 does not exist, and it's also saying in step 2 the same different data set, a load live data set, does not exist as well. So it's actually not only just checking the JCL, but also going through and resolving or showing error messages for things that you're saying are supposed to be there, but they're not actually allocated. So jumping out of this one, I'm going to go to copy 2 as my next, and I'm going to do the JCLX module. And here we have 1 informational and 4 error messages. Again, the IEB copy was resolved and found, but we can see that my coding was incorrect here. So I have a duplicate parameter disp. I'm using disp share at the beginning and then disp new catalog at the end. That needs to be addressed. And then I can also see that CTailor ISPF JCL2 already exists. So if I were to do the new catalog disp, then I would find that this data set is already there. And that's something I would need to do is resolve it to disp equals share or change the new DSN or data set name. I can also see in a a message about my access. So I have my user ID Joshua S requires alter ID or alter access to create or delete a data set C Taylor, but I only have read. So it's giving me that error message that I can't really do much with the level of access that I have now. And this just showcases, again, that we're not just looking out for data sets, we're also looking out for access requirements, and if you have the correct access to run what you want to run it for your job. We can also see that copy X, we can see that the in-stream statement is incorrect, and there's a parameter error here that we need to address before submitting again. The next example I'm going to go down to is called libtest. And in libtest, we can see that it's doing multiple we have multiple JCL lib statements here. So when I go to do my JCLX parameter, I can see that there's 3 informational and 2 error. I can see that the module was resolved, and I can see that it's going through and it found missing include for my member, and also the statement saying that I can only have one JCL lib. So if I were to comment out this lib and I do the JCLX again, I can see that everything was resolved, including that message about not being able to find this member, and it will show that there isn't 2 JCL libs. So I'm going to back out, and the next thing I want to show is that you can actually run JCL Expert in batch. So say I wanted to invoke JCL Expert via a batch job, I have that function and ability to do so. So I have my batch job here. I can see that it's I have all the parameters set, the high level qualifier for the data sets, also where it resides in USS, and the JCL member that I want to run JCL Expert against. So if I do a submit, and wait a second, I can see that it comes back with a return code 8, and if I split my screen and go to SCSF and the held output, I can see my job here, and we can see if we scroll down that it is invoking JCL Expert at the bottom here, and we can see the different messages that are being sent to the output. So we can see that it couldn't find a specific load module, it couldn't, the data set does not exist, and at the bottom it's going to give you all the stats that you have. So you have 4 errors and 1 informational, things that you would need to address before submitting this in production to avoid error messages. So now that they've shown ISPF, I want to show the OMVS or USS side of JCL Expert. And so if I go to 6, OMVS, I'm going to run this command. And this command is going to run JCL Expert against my dataset name, and it's going to do it in text format. So the format that we're used to seeing through the ISPF deployment of it. So I can see it's doing the same things. It's going out, giving me informational or error messages, and it's also giving me the different results at the bottom, things that have errors or informational and I need to address. This example was about JES reserve names, and it goes back to the first example that I showed. The great thing about JCL Expert is you can also change the format of the output. So instead of having text, we can do JSON. And this JSON can be fed into your DevOps pipeline or sent elsewhere to be fed into another program just to give that validation that, hey, we did this, we did a JCL check on this job before putting it in production, it passed or it failed, this needs to go back and be addressed, but it gives all the output, all the results in JSON format, so it allows you to achieve that pipeline that you might be looking for. So done with OMVS, I'm going to go into IDZ, and I'm going to open my bad.jcl member. And to run JCL Expert in IDZ, I had to load my plugin to IDZ. But if I want to invoke it, all I have to do is right-click and go down to JCL Expert. And it's going to do its analysis, and it's going to take a second. And I can see at the bottom here, it's giving me my remote error list, and it's going to give me all the different messages that I had in ISPF, and it will give you the output down below. So it will show me that the DD name is reserved, or my job card is too long, and these are the different things that I need to address, obviously, before submitting it to my production environment. The next thing I'm going to show is the Zoe API functionality with JCL Expert. So this is my Zoe desktop and the API catalog. I'm using IBM Z JCL Expert. And what it's going to do, first what we're going to do is just try this out and pull back retrieve the API info. So it's just going to go out and pull in the information about the API, the version, Node.js version. It's going to give me a successful operation, and then it gives me a request URL, which I can go out and put into my browser, and then it will give me the information through that method as well. So we're going to submit a data set here, and we're going to see how it looks through the API. So we're going to add in my member here, and it's going to be the same one we've been looking at, BADD1. I'm going to execute it, and it's going to take a second to go through and actually submit the job. But what I actually care about here is the job correlator name. So what I'm going to do is copy up until the semicolon here, and to retrieve the output from that run, I'm going to go down to the retrieval, and I'm going to put the correlator ID that I had and paste it here, and I'm going to execute. And I'm going to go to my URL and put it into my browser. And now it's going to give me all that output in a format that, could also be sent through your DevOps pipeline, or different way, or a different application that were to ingest this data so that you could do that final checkbox and send it off to your production environment and say, hey, it passed all the JCL check requirements that we have, and it's good to go, and it won't fail. It also allows you to pull the API or the output in different languages. Like if you wanted to pull it in Python or curl or bash, it will give you that command that you would need to do to pull that information. And the last one is the Zoe command line interface. And for this one, I'm going to first CD to my where my code resides. Alright, so I'm at my JCL Expert folder, and I'm first going to do a Zoe ZOSMF check status to check the status of ZOSMF and make sure that I am connected properly. And I can see everything's active. I'm connected through port 443. I'm good to go. So I'm going to submit my command, Zoe JCLX local bad.jcl and we're going to do response encoding IBM 1047. So this is running my JCLX command, the JCLX code against a local copy of bad.jcl. That local copy resides in my JCL Expert folder on my machine. So it's going to go out there, it's going to pull data from my from COE1, pull the code from JCL Expert from COE1 and run it against my local copy of bad.jcl. And we can see that it puts it in a JSON format for me to see all the different errors or informational messages that are there. I can also do this in output text if I needed to see it in a different format. And we can see it is similar text format to all the different JCL Expert commands that I've ran so far. But also I want to show that I can actually log into my COE machine, or the COE machine here, and do Zoe JCLX remote dataset command. And I want to look at this member again, this data set, and I need response encoding IBM 1047, and I'm going to do my output as text to begin with. So this is doing a wrapped SSH call into COE1, and it's pulling that data set, running JCLX against it, and then sending me the output. I can also do the output in JSON, which is the default output of the JCLX command. And that is it for a demo. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to our YouTube channel for more insights into our IBM Z software solutions.